Welcome to the Art and Hustle Gallery Conversations Monday after
Yes, in
I
person.
just got off my Zoom with Andre and he did virtual. So that's why I was like, you did in person. So I want your feedback on in person.
It was, listen, I went to work today after that full 4-day weekend, and I'm a wreck.
I'm sure you are. He took he took the day off.
If I could, I would have, but I'm coming back from a break. This was my week off.
Oh yeah, because the kids were off. Yeah. So this was the
Yes.
first day back at school.
Yes. And so I got up and was so emotional this morning,
Yeah.
crying and just,
Well, honey, you look fabulous.
do I?
Yes.
I am exhausted.
Well, you look great.
I am exhausted. However, the exhaustion
Is happy.
is welcomed
Yeah.
because of the experience.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what I'm giving off, but mentally and physically, like I am, and I feel like it's like setting in now. I am drained. I am drained. And I can't tell you, feel like I'm gonna cry.
Oh, well, the thing is that I see that even though you're drained and you're exhausted, I feel like there's no filter that's holding you back to just being your raw self. And that's what I see. I feel like you're just your raw self and it's beautiful. You know? Do you have a box of tissues? I want to give you a hug. Can I give you a virtual hug?
Hugs.
I'll give you hugs.
It just, it unlocked so much.
Yeah. Yeah. Was it really hard doing it in person?
There were different levels for me because it's so funny. I just finished watching the first two podcasts that we had.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, I got some great feedback that gave me some insight when I was there. It was 39 participants.
Yeah.
Right, in person. And I remember telling you, well, if you remember, when I did basic, it was like 4.5 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. So when I came in, I think I went in with the idea, well, these people are going to know each other, because a lot of people do it right after basic and they come in with their experiences as a group, so there are cliques that are formed and, people know each other. And so watching our first two podcasts, I was like, oh my God, like you can't run away from who you are, because we talked about how difficult it is for us to walk into a room with all new people.
Yes.
And so doing that just brought me right back into that space of discomfort and awkwardness and not knowing how to show up.
Yeah.
Right. And when I don't know people, the first thing that happens is I have to put up, like that, and it's to protect ourselves, right?
Yeah. Safety.
To create that safety that we need. And so, I think, was it the third day? The third day I shared, right? And I actually got up in the middle of the room and I shared my experience. And what I got out of it, like with other people who shared, I noticed that, the not only the staffers, but the participants were like, "No, this and this and this. But I felt like when I shared, not too many people chimed in. And so it made me curious. So I allowed myself to be vulnerable enough to ask for feedback.
Yeah.
And the feedback that I received was that, because I asked what did they experience of me? And what they said was that I wasn't hot or cold. I was just neutral. some people said that they couldn't figure me out, like they didn't know. And it wasn't surprising, right? But being in that space, because I went there seeking connection, it just made me feel like I don't know how to do that. You
Mm,
know, I don't know how to connect,
mhm.
right? And so it just brought me back into that uncomfortable space.
Yeah.
And once I did start to connect and they were able to see bits and pieces of me, it's just like you can't go, you can't seek for something that you're unwilling to give yourself.
Yeah.
It's just not realistic,
Yeah.
right? And it the entire experience, like I would do it all over again.
Mm,
It was insightful. The design of how they do what they do is purposeful, and clearly it tapped into a part of me that hasn't been tapped in a while.
yeah.
So hearing that, it just made me realize, I mean, it made me present to what I already know.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I don't even have the words. It's an experience that can't be explained. Like, you have to experience it to understand.
That's what everybody says, right? Everybody that we talk to about, like, oh, did you do advanced? They're just like, yeah, it's a whole nother level.
It's a whole nother level.
That's what everybody always says. Like they just look at you like it's a whole
There's not, like, I can't even begin to describe.
hmm.
But what I can say, what it did for me is it allowed me to see the urgency of stepping into my power.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just no time to wait.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Just like, what are you waiting for?
what are you waiting for? Time doesn't exist,
Yeah.
like, the only thing that we have is now.
Hmm.
And so if we're expecting things to move in a certain direction, we need to
Do it.
do it now.
You got to do it yourself, right?
Got to do it now,
You got to do it.
and like, just the community of people that
Hmm.
you become connected to
Hmm.
is amazing in and of itself. Um, I'll tell you one of the experiences that I had. There was a woman, she was also a participant, and she was like extremely direct. It felt like she was fearless in that she would speak her mind, even if it was against, the what everybody else was doing or saying.
Yeah.
So, although initially I took it as her being standoffish, I could appreciate some of the feedback that she gave people.
Hmm.
So when I asked her for feedback, and she said to me, well, the first thing she said to me is, "Why do you want my feedback? You don't need feedback from me.
Oh.
I don't have to tell you, how I feel, because what I feel doesn't matter."
Yeah.
And I was like,
Oh
okay,
no. You're like, uh-oh.
shut me completely down. And I usually stay away from asking questions because of that
Mm.
type of response.
Mhm.
So it put me all back in my head again.
Wow.
I was embarrassed. I felt silly, and as I started explaining to the other girls and started kind of talking and communicating because it was time for us. I think we took a lunch break. I don't know if it was a lunch break or a dinner break.
Yeah.
And she was sitting right next to me, so she overheard what I was saying to the other girl. And she was like, "Well, I just don't understand why you would want me to tell you how I feel." I was like,
Yeah.
"Well, it's not so much of how you feel. I was asking what your experience was of me because I'm not certain on how I'm showing up. So
Mhm.
this was information that I'm gathering so that
Yeah.
it can become insightful for me."
Yeah.
And then I said, and then she went on to say, because, and I remember one of the first activities we had, she was standing next to me. And when it was time for me to share my piece, you know, when you're talking, you're looking in everybody's face or whatever. And when I turned over to her, she just looked like she was so uninterested.
Oh.
And so she was like, "Well, the first experience that I had, when you were talking, I could barely hear you. And when I don't hear people, I tune them out and I become uninterested."
Oh.
Right? So, um, and I said to her, and I was like, "Well, you know, this is a challenge that I've had." I said, when I was younger, I was sexually abused. I lost my voice, and I lost my voice. And basically, that's why I'm here. And And I told her, as a result, this year specifically, I started doing podcasts with a woman I met to discuss my sexual abuse and fight to get my voice back. And we ended the conversation there, right? And so there were some activities that we did. And when she did her part, she was calling people to sit and give them roses and, express to them how they impacted her.
Mhm.
So she was like, "Tammy, can you come?"
Mhm.
And when she said it, like I kind of turned around. I was like, "Did she say Jenny?" Right.
Like, did she call me? Like, what?
Did she say Jenny?
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the most powerful moments for me.
Mhm.
And, you know, she shared some things that were really touching. And and then she was like, "You're so brave. You do a podcast and you just heard the room like, hmm? You know,
They're like, "Wait, what? You do a
like,
podcast?"
what? She does it, huh?" Right? And she was like, "Yes, she does a podcast." Right. And then she went on to say that she shared with the room what the exchange was, that she told me no, that she didn't want to give me feedback.
Yeah.
And then she said that she realized that what I had done was give her an opportunity to use her voice, and that she realized that what she had to say matters.
Mm.
So we all have shit. It's really how we interpret it or how
Yeah.
we choose to interpret it,
Yeah.
and I was so stuck in my head about, damn, like, what I do to this woman? Like, I
Yeah.
barely know her, so
Yeah.
why does she feel so strongly? But it had nothing to do with me. It's
Mhm.
about how she
Her.
chooses to show up based on, whatever her experiences
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
And so she thanked me for asking for her input because she realized at that point that she does matter.
Mm.
right? And so that was maybe a revelation for her. So that was an eye opener. That was an aha moment for me. You
Mhm.
know, like instead of always thinking that I'm the cause
Mhm.
of whatever the dysfunction may be,
Yeah.
that everybody is sitting in their own fucking dysfunctions,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, and to learn not to take things so seriously. And even if she meant what she said,
Mhm.
like her, me giving her words so much power over me is just exactly what I'm trying to learn not to, you know, take on.
Yeah.
So that was just one thing. And I mean, just imagine just being in a room with people from sun up to sun, literally 11 to 10, 11 to 10. The Saturday night, I didn't leave until like 1 o'clock in the morning,
Wow.
you know? And then on Sunday, although we got out a little earlier, I didn't get home until 10. Was it after 10? Yeah, I didn't get home until 11 o'clock. We end up
Wow.
leaving it,
Yeah.
you know? So,
You're breaking down all those walls, man. You're breaking all those walls down.
yeah, yes, and yes, and yes. It was just, and just saying that it was an amazing experience, like it really
Mhm.
doesn't
Mhm.
captivate what happened this
Yeah.
weekend.
Yeah.
And I'm just so grateful that I did it.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that I was able to get what I got and to know like the real work starts now
Yeah.
because we're in a safe space when we're doing that, you know, like there it's like having padded walls and
Yeah.
floors
Mhm.
because you have support and there are professionals there who know what they're doing and know how to provide that support. But
Yeah.
when you're out here, you know, learning how to apply all of the things that you learn and you're just kind of dangling, you know, it's still a bit daunting.
Yeah.
And so this morning when I got up, um, I just had a rush of emotions. Like I was still kind of feeling like I had that imposter syndrome going.
Mhm.
Um, I started to have doubts about if I could live what
You
I
just
learned.
yeah, just that you just experienced. Mhm.
Yeah, and you know, I was able to shake it off. I
Yeah.
was able to shake it off because I immediately realized that I was in my head again,
Yeah.
you know, but you just provided a set of tools to move in a
Mhm.
different way.
Yeah.
Because as we've communicated, you know, before, that these challenges don't stop, you know, just because we learn a new way of doing things and of being, you know, you don't just automatically that's not our default. It's like something, a muscle that has to be worked. It's
Yeah.
something that we build, right? And so just I think processing all of the things that happen from day one to day four, it's intense. And I just, I feel like I'm standing in a new place, although it's a lot
Mm.
of emotions
Mhm.
attached to it.
Mhm.
You know, I feel stronger inside,
Yeah.
you know, being able to kind of get to those raw places that I haven't ventured to touch.
Yeah.
It so many breakthroughs.
I love it.
So many fucking breakthroughs.
I love it. I love it.
Like,
There's a rawness and a lightness to you,
yeah,
and it's beautiful to see,
yeah.
you know?
It feels good.
Yeah.
No,
Because there's a lightness too of like exposing all of those things that you were holding back and not ready to look at. And since you had that safe space to have to be able to expose those things, there's a rawness to you that is like, no, this is all my shit. I'm gonna
mhm.
put it all out there, and this is just me,
Yep.
you know?
Yeah.
And you're gonna love all those parts of you. And this is it. We're gonna move forward. We're gonna put all this shit out and then
Yep.
just move forward from there.
Yeah. it's a different, like even doing the podcast right now, and I told you from 2 weeks ago that I was feeling stronger and more comfortable,
Yeah,
with doing this. But I just feel like, there was some fear at times about how I came across and, oh,
yeah,
maybe I got too
yeah.
deep and I don't know if this is something that I want
Mhm,
shared with the
yeah.
whole world. But there's not that resistance
Mhm, mhm.
anymore.
Yeah. And then
Um,
even after you watch them, you're like, "No, it wasn't as bad."
it
Right?
wasn't as,
It wasn't as
absolutely
bad.
wasn't
Because,
as
like,
bad.
we get into our head of, like, I don't know how that was. Just like I've said before, where sometimes I feel exhausted and I'm not ready to do a podcast, and I'll put my makeup
Mhm.
on and I get ready and go on. And then some of those I'll watch and I was like, "Oh, I did really good."
Yeah.
You're like, "Oh, well, I didn't look as tired as I thought I
Yeah,
looked,"
yeah,
you know?
yeah,
So our perception in our head sometimes just really throws us off, and
yeah,
it's courage to get back into the arena and just keep pushing through until that new muscle that we're trying to create becomes like something that just flows.
yeah. Yeah, I'm so grateful that, and I told you from the time that we started doing the podcast, starting with Sunrise, and that was in September. We started doing our podcast. I think it was the end of December into January,
Yep.
right up until this point. And I just feel like I was being primed,
Hmm.
you know, to take
On all of
an
this.
intense course
Yeah.
that I took, and it just it primed me in that we've been discussing this topic,
Hmm.
and I know
How to
a lot
say it
of,
now, how to
yeah,
vocalize it.
for sure. But the thing is, I really I vocalized it in a smaller setting,
Yeah.
not for the whole group. Um, but yet still, I got up and I spoke, and that wasn't when I spoke, that wasn't the header, right?
Yeah.
So, but yet I still got up and spoke.
That's
That's big.
huge. Yeah.
Big.
That's huge. Hmm.
And so, I can't wait for you to do it.
I know. I know. I can't.
Basically.
I can't wait. I know. I can't wait. I think this next one is in April. I think the end of April. So I'm gonna email them and sign up for it.
Okay. Yeah, it was special.
Hmm.
It was special. And I think too, this morning I was kind of feeling like I wish I would have given more,
Yeah.
but then I had to kind of ground myself and remind myself that things happen the way that they're supposed to,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
You went. That that is a feat in itself. You went and you did in person,
Yeah,
Tam.
I
Listen,
know.
you showed up. You're showing up for these podcasts. You're showing up for yourself. That is a feat in itself. So I commend you and I give you a virtual hug for that.
Yeah, thank you.
You're showing up for yourself, honey.
Yeah. Yeah, it was beautiful. It was everything, everything I needed and more.
Mhm.
And guess what? I'm doing leadership next weekend.
That's what Andre's doing too. Andre texted me and said he's doing leadership, so he just paid for leadership as well.
Yeah,
So both of
yeah.
you guys are doing leadership.
Is he doing it virtually?
Um, Probably because he's in Atlanta.
Okay,
So
okay.
ever since I met him on Momentum, I started doing weekly podcasts with him too. So if you look at my featured
Oh,
ones, Andre is the one who I met at Momentum, and I'm doing weeklies with him as well.
okay. I got to take a look.
Yeah, check it out.
Look. Um, but it was everything that I needed. Like it really, really helped me get to the core of some things that I wouldn't say was buried, but definitely wasn't surfaced,
Yeah, yeah. And then tap into the emotions behind it, right?
and tap into the emotions behind it. Like I just kept crying and
Yes.
crying and
We
crying.
finally got to the floodgates.
Did I? Did I?
Once you
And
get to the floodgates,
Yeah.
That's great because you have to be able to feel it. And like I said before, like you have to realize like you're mourning your childhood, your teenage years, whatever time that you went through that, you're mourning and feeling it because you never got to feel it back then. So you're just gonna listen. I'll just keep crying about everything. Everything that I go through, I'll be just crying about it.
Yep.
You just cry about it all, and you need to. You need to because you didn't get to cry then. And if you don't let her have that time to cry, you know, what was that? Feelings buried don't die. They'll scream at you to be felt.
Yep.
So you have to just feel it.
Well, girl, I am feeling it all at once.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
that's why it's so beautiful and raw right now. Like I see you now. Like I see you. Like you're not hiding. I
Mhm.
see you and it's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I do.
And that's the rawness that we all need to experience and feel where this is my raw self and this is how I feel. And that's what people will be able to connect to you fully.
Yeah,
And
for
they'll
sure.
love you fully because you're being super raw
Yeah.
and not guarded.
Yeah. And I I learned that real time this week.
Hmm.
Like I was really able to see the impact
Yeah.
or lack thereof
Yeah.
because of how I choose to show up.
Yeah. And when you're not fully like trying to be perfect and like figure out all the words that you're trying to be perfect and say, when you're just being raw and just expressing yourself, then people are being like, oh, this is Tam. Oh, this is how she feels. Instead of like trying to figure out like what are you trying to say to us? What are you trying
Yeah.
to orchestrate and protect yourself to be perfect to say to us? As opposed
Mhm.
to no, this is who I am.
Yep.
This is how I feel and this is what I
Yep.
went through. And either love me or hate me. Like this is it. I don't give a shit.
Listen, girl, after this weekend, it's just like I what else can be said at this point? You know
That's
what I
it.
mean?
This is you. This is all you. This is all out there and
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. It was really, really one of the best experiences that I've had in my life.
I love it. And that seems to be like what everybody says that takes momentum
Yeah.
and the advance. Because
Yeah.
every advanced person you talk to, they just look at you like it is amazing. It's
Fucking
life
crazy.
changing. It's a completely new
It
ball
is
game, right?
life altering,
Yeah.
life
Hmm.
altering.
Hmm.
Like I don't expect like after 4 days for me to be like, I am this different person. What I see is the possibility
Yes. Hope.
of who I am,
Yeah.
not who I will become. I see the possibility of who I am,
Yeah.
you know? And so now I can start to move differently
Yeah.
because I have a new set of tools that I can pull from
Yeah.
to support me in that.
Yes, I love it. And I'm so grateful. And thank you so much for letting me into your world and be able to document this process in
Linda,
a podcast that you're on.
in
You
a
told the girls, right?
podcast,
You're like,
let me tell
what?
you, it it just well, you're thanking me, and I have to thank you because it's it's been this journey that has propelled me into feeling comfortable enough, or even let me not say comfortable enough, to feeling that I have to do the thing even when I'm uncomfortable,
Hmm.
and like I went in and I think the last podcast we did, I said, well, I'm not really feeling nervous right now. I
Yeah.
don't feel anything. And literally even till the day, it's when I get around people, specifically people who I don't know, I don't know how to
Be.
I don't know how to be.
Yeah.
It's really, really uncomfortable for me.
Yeah.
And even I remember there was a point where the facilitator asked me a question which caught me off guard, right? And I was like, oh, no, I didn't have anything to say, like
It's like, I was not ready.
I was so not ready. Like, what? Did she just say my name? Like, no, I don't have anything to contribute, and yeah, it just showed me that all parts of me are worthy.
Yes. Exactly. Exactly.
All parts are worthy.
All of
So
it. All of it. Every
I'm
part,
yep,
every story,
absolutely.
everything.
So I'm sitting with it. I'm sitting in it. You know, I mean, you took basics, so you know what the support that you get,
Yes.
the group that you're with.
Mhm.
Also, it's just another level. And I am not surprised by God's timing,
Mhm.
so I just appreciate it all,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I just I, I spoke with Sunrise on Sunday. Yeah, I spoke with her yesterday.
Mhm.
And I'm just thinking about like the sequence of events and how everything unfolded. It's you I just see the divinity in it,
Yeah.
you know? It's
Mhm.
I literally feel like God was like, okay, you're going to do this here.
Mhm.
Now I'm going to move you here. Okay, now I'm going to move you here.
Yeah.
It's just like it's been this leveling
Mhm.
up, that
Mm.
progression, of different things for me to experience.
Mhm.
And it's just been amazing.
I love it. It's beautiful. It's beautiful to see it all and to experience it all with you. And I'm excited. I'm excited for your leadership and to see how everything keeps going upward.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. How are you feeling?
I am the same as I was last week.
Okay.
My daughter's a little sick, so I think I'm getting a little bit sick.
Okay.
And
Okay.
my son wasn't feeling well yesterday, but he still went to school today. But my daughter stayed home, so hopefully she can go tomorrow because she fainted last week at the mall.
Oh, how old is she?
14.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah. She had
It,
a she was sick all week, and she still
what
was.
kind of sick? Did she have a cold or?
She had a yeah. She just seemed like she had a cold, congestion. Her throat was little, hurting her a little bit, but more congestion and everything. She had a mild fever, so it wasn't like anything too crazy. And she
Hmm.
had a birthday party on Thursday or Friday. I was like, well, if you feel better towards the end of the week, because it shouldn't. I feel like it shouldn't last that long. This cold, right? But it was just lingering, and she went to the mall, and then I was in the middle of a podcast. I was actually in the middle of a podcast with Trina,
Oh,
so I had to jump off, and I was like, oh my god, I have to go to the mall. My daughter just fainted, so I ran to the mall. She was in the ambulance, and they said that she was okay. Her numbers and everything were okay, so I feel like maybe she's like a little anemic and dehydrated,
that's
and
what I
then
was gonna
and then
ask.
being sick with the lights and then the air, the mall air.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she conked out, fell on the floor, and then she doesn't remember this, but she got up and then she fell over the cash register again. So she fainted technically twice.
Oh my
So she
God.
doesn't remember the second time. She only so I don't know. But
Poor thing.
so I've been watching her closely for the past, since Friday, and she seems good. I've been, hydrating her with lots of Gatorade and food, and she
Okay.
looks good, but she's just super congested.
Okay. Well, as long as she's okay.
Yeah,
Poor thing.
I know. So I was worried about her, and then I started not feeling well yesterday, and I was like, no, I was like, I know you guys went to Momentum. If you guys are ready to talk about it really quick, I would love to jump on. I'm just gonna put
Yeah.
myself together.
Yeah. Yeah. Really quick.
Yeah, really quick. I'll put myself together, get on this anyway, because I want to get that feedback of like how it
Yeah.
went, because
Yeah.
There's nothing like that feedback right afterwards.
like right after it's done.
Right afterwards,
Sure.
because you're excited,
And
you're exhausted, and you
yes,
get all the feelings right afterwards.
yeah,
So
yeah, and
he's got the similar amazing feelings that you had. He did the virtual,
yeah,
you did in person, and then both of you guys moved on to leadership.
yeah. I just, it scares the shit out of me still because
Good,
this
just do it
is,
anyway, right?
well, yeah, that's why I said, I'm learning from the last experience where I did basic and didn't, keep the momentum going.
Mhm.
And so, like, there were certain things that they were talking about from basic that I couldn't remember. I did it four and a
Oh,
half years ago.
okay. Yeah,
You know what I mean? But I mean, I could get through it, right? But just doing it in the same space, just I think has a different type of intensity.
does.
Um, so once it ended, I was like, if I'm gonna do it, it's gonna need to be now because
Yeah,
I know myself. I have to strike when the iron is hot,
yes.
that
And
I
just
can
keep
be in
going,
that
and just
space
keep
and
going.
just
Mhm.
keep going. I even looked into mastery. There's a
Yeah.
course that they give in mastery, and what they explained, staffers explained, it's just like a basic 2.0. And
Mm,
so I think that I would want that refresher for
yeah,
myself.
yeah,
Um, and because I'm having so much emotion too.
yeah.
So I think it'll
I
be,
think so too. I think so too. I feel like there's something different in the support system of momentum that really helps us.
yeah. I mean, it's designed to do what they do. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So it's very intentional, and boy, do they just get to the heart of things.
That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah,
I can't wait. I can't wait. And I thank you so much for joining me here today, giving
yeah,
me this little feedback. I know you're exhausted, so I'm going to let you go and go rest.
yeah. Thank you.
But thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thank you so much. And we'll chat again soon.
Yes, baby. You have a good one.
Keep hustling, keep moving forward, keep that momentum and
That's it.
intensity going.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's all there is right now.
I love it. So I'll see you next time. Bye.
See you next time, baby.
Bye.
Bye.